It's 7 o'clock. Good evening. It's Tuesday, May 14th, 2024. Time to call the meeting to order for the Chelmsford Conservation Commission. My name is Carl Bischoff. I'm the chair of the Conservation Commission. We'll be following the published and posted agenda. The meeting is both in person and through Zoom. In the case of the Zoom not working, we will still continue the meeting in person. The meeting is being broadcast and recorded by Chelmsford Telemedia. Thank you very much, and will be available on their website and YouTube. We have a programming note from our agenda. The applicant for 10 Hildreth Street has requested that the hearing be continued without discussion until our next meeting on May 28th. And the applicant for 93 Brick Kiln Road has requested that the hearing be continued without discussion until our next meeting on May 28th. So if you're here for either of those, you can make your decision if you want to stick around, because we will not be talking about them. First, on our open...
Sorry, as you were, just microphones. You keep talking.
Oh, yeah. We're not set up. Thanks. So anything from the public? We have a open session here. If there's something that is a concern that somebody wants to bring up. I don't see any movement in the audience or anybody online, David, I guess. So we will go to our report from the liaison from the planning board. Hello, Chris.
Good evening. In case you hadn't seen the news, the MBTA zoning that we proposed at town meeting did pass, and it passed pretty decidedly. And the deadline has passed for any challenge to that zoning. So we are on target to continue with the timeline proposed by the planning board, with the development agreement adjustments and the select board later in this fall. The last meeting we had was last week. We did have some significant technical difficulties with Zoom, so we attempted to do some discussion on 270 related to the stormwater. That will be continued next week, is our next meeting. Probably looking to close it out soon, so we'll be nearing that end. The other hearings, Brick Kiln and Hildreth, were also continued as well. We've got the peer review to discuss next week at Brick Kiln, and then the Board of Health results from the hydrogeo study came in for Hildreth, so we'll be probably discussing those at the next meeting. Let's see. I think that is it. The Brick Kiln one. We do have the peer review. I don't know if you guys were given a copy of it, so if you need any of those copies, let us know.
Thanks.
Yep.
Got it. Thanks. Any questions for Chris?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it, Chris.
Hey, good job, by the way, at town meeting.
Yeah.
Very good job.
Yep. So first on our list of regulatory hearings, we have a request for determination of applicability for Monty Construction, 31 Billerica Road. Bruce Ringwall, I don't see here, must be online, representing GPR, or from GPR representing the applicant, and we have a notice.
Legal notice. Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 187, the Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a public hearing here in room 204 at the Chelmsford Town Offices on Tuesday, May 14th, 2024, at 7 p.m. to consider the request for determination of applicability filed by Monty Construction on behalf of property owners Jeffrey and Mary Clevin for proposed work within 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands at 31 Billerica Road, further identified as Assessors Map 84/Block 334/Lot 1. The project entails creation of temporary site access for the purpose of constructing an addition to a single-family residence.
Mr. Chairman, before we get started, Pete, one of these Zoom screens isn't working.
Chelmsford Telemedia, can you help get us a Zoom screen working? Is Bruce on? He's,
It's actually Jim Basile from GPR is on.
hold on for a moment, technical difficulties.
There we go.
Okay,
All right.
great. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you very much.
He does need to turn his video on, though.
So you there, Jim?
Yes, yeah.
Okay,
There we are.
great.
So,
And one more thing, I will say, just to start, is this is actually an after-the-fact filing. I actually didn't realize how significantly after the fact it is until I did the site visit. But having said that, Jim, why don't you go ahead and start?
tell us about
Sure.
the project.
Sorry. For the record, Jim Basile, Goldsmith, Preston, Ringwall. If it's all right with the Conservation Commission, I'll just give a quick overview of the project, and then I'll turn it back over to you, all of you, for questions and comments. Would it be preferred if I shared my screen, or?
Yeah,
David?
why don't you do that, Jim? Because I don't think you'll be able to see it if I share mine.
Okay,
Or-
so I'll do that. Let me pull up my screen now. It might take a second, but can everyone see the plan?
Yes.
Yep. There we go. All right. Again, for the record, Jim Basile, Goldsmith, Preston, Ringwall. I believe in the audience, the applicant, Ryan Montgomery from Monty Construction, is present. But I'll just jump into the review. So, on behalf of the applicant, we prepared a request for determination of applicability for the property at 31 Billerica Road for the proposed addition. The lot's located at the southwesterly corner of the Billerica Road and Summer Street intersection. The existing lot contains a existing single-family dwelling, along with an associated access drive off of Billerica Road. There's also various walkways, retaining walls, landscaping in the area. The lot's a mix of grass lawn area and tree wooded areas. Over in the southerly portion of the property, this pink red line denotes the flood zone AE that kind of runs through. And then further south of here, there's a bordering vegetated wetland that was delineated by Hancock Associates in May of 2021. So that projects the 25-foot no disturb area buffer, the 30-foot no impervious area buffer, 50-foot no building area buffer, and then the 100-foot wetland buffer onto the property. So the owners would like to construct this addition, which is located outside the 100-foot wetland buffer. But in order to facilitate construction around the rear over here, a temporary construction drive was needed off of Summer Street. And so this is made up of a straw wattle shown by the battle line type, but it's located on the down gradient side of the construction drive, which has a woven geotextile fabric material. It's kind of overlaid on top of the wattle, and then it is encompasses the area of this hatched area with a layer of raised packed gravel on top for means of vehicle access throughout the site. And this installed erosion control barrier is kind of anticipated to offer protection to the resource areas associated with the project. But while this is all good, it should have been filed as an RDA prior. So we're here to get this in front of the Conservation Commission for review to make sure that everything's done okay. But to continue on that, I believe David had spoke with the applicant Ryan about doubling up these straw wattles for additional protection, and it's my understanding that Ryan's in the process of getting additional wattles out there so that he can double that up. There's a temporary stockpile staging area over to the northerly portion of the property. It's outside of the wetland buffer zone. This also kind of serves as a means of parking area for the construction, which is construction is paused on site until the Conservation Commission has had time to review and okay this. But once the work is able to resume on the proposed addition, when the area back here is no longer needed for temporary construction drive area, the idea would be that the fabric and the gravel material will be pulled out with the wattles to remain. And this would be in the effort so that a storm chamber system could be installed in this area down here, which this storm chamber system was sized to account for the impervious area increase from the roof of the addition. So that'll be via roof drain lines that'll tie in down here with a pop-up emitter for larger storm events, just for overflow. And also in the area would be a foundation drain tying into a 2 by 2 by 2 stone filter pit, also for overflow purposes. While in the area, from my understanding, the owners would like to remove this non-native tree located over here. They'd be happy to, if the Conservation Commission would like to, the owners would be happy to plant a native tree somewhere on site to make up for this tree removal. But once the temporary construction drive area is no longer needed for construction, the fabric and gravel would be removed from the area, with the straw wattles remaining in place until a landscaper could come in and kind of prep the areas that were disturbed by the drive and prep it for reseeding to have it return to grass lawn area. And then once that is been stabilized, then the straw wattles will be removed. But those are kind of the big talking points. So I can leave my screen up or turn it back over to you, Dave, and then if there's any questions or comments, I'd be happy to answer those.
Thank you, Jim.
So, as I understand it, this is opening on the fence and putting in a driveway. The building itself is inside or outside the 100-foot.
Yes, you see the green up here, that's the 100-foot buffer zone, so you see it comes almost to the buffer zone, so, but not in it. There's concern about drainage into the buffer zone. That's why I suggested the storm chamber here to manage that. As I mentioned earlier, this is an after-the-fact filing. I don't know how 356 tons of gravel pack could have brought in, and no one noticed it, and no one called me, which is surprising to me because.
Well, David, you didn't see it out the window? It's right there.
It is almost across the street, but Bill Ricca Road is very busy.
Yep.
Summer Street is pretty busy, but anyway, it does look like, and it is a significant amount of alteration in the buffer zone, but. Given that it is temporary, again, I think this can still be done as a negative determination of applicability. I think that we do need just a little bit more detailed on the work sequence to remove it. If you could, for instance, how is that going to be done? Is there going to be like a dump truck and a mini excavator or something loading it? If you could give some idea of are there going to be multiple vehicles involved, and how long that will take? I don't think we need to keep the hearing open for that, but I think we need a little bit more detail on the removal sequence of the gravel pack. Just the one other thing I want to say is down in this area here, you see where I'm circling down in the lower right, where the mowing, the lawn actually is extending into the wetlands. Members of the commission may recall that a couple of summers ago, the owners filed an RDA for installation of the fence. Part of that was included in that was to just cut some invasive trees down in that area. As far as I can recollect, and as far as I can determine, they weren't given permission to remove the stumps and extend the lawn. So my recommendation to the commission is, as a condition of approval, that at least the wetland area be allowed, no longer be mowed, and be allowed to come back naturally. As you can see here, the lawn, I think historically has encroached, well into the 25-foot no disturb. So I don't know if the condition needs to be to let the 25-foot no disturb come back, but at least the wetland portion where it's being mowed should come back naturally.
Anything else?
Not that I can think of at the moment.
So let's ask the commission. John, you want to start questions?
I think it's a tremendous plan. As far as, the roof, everything, the temporary stockpile, everything's good. As far as taking the gravel out of there, I'm sure they're just gonna take it out with a backhoe, load it into the truck, and it goes away. As far as mowing the lawn, hasn't been mowed for a long time.
No, I think the portion of the wetlands has only just started being mowed within the last couple of years.
But is it an established lawn?
Well, it's not established now, but it wasn't a lawn historically. I mean, it was wooded up until a couple of years ago, and I can't find any record that was proposed as part of the RDA. So my opinion is that the wetland portion, the lawn where it's in the wetland, should be allowed to come back.
So you're talking 25 feet.
Into the wetlands? Yeah, something like that. This little, almost a rectangle down in this area.
Yeah. Oh. No, I don't see a problem with this at all. I mean, it's already in there.
Well, my opinion is they should, if they wanted to go with lawn into the wetlands, they should have asked to do that. And not aware of the commission ever having allowed that before.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be a hardship, really, just to let that come back.
Anything else, John?
Yeah, maybe they put some blueberries down there,
Yeah, they could certainly plant it,
something like that.
Yeah, they could certainly do that, and they don't
To
need
take
special.
that tree out, forget the tree, and maybe plant some blueberries down in that lower portion.
Well, you can certainly make that decision.
Well, I'm just throwing it out there. But, no, I think I'm all right with it. I'm all right with your idea with the roof drains and everything, so I'm good.
Okay, Bill?
I like the idea of putting some kind of bushes or something we've always marked the 25-foot no disturb with something. I'd rather see blueberry bushes or something that looks natural.
Well, I'm talking about the wetlands now.
Yeah, you want to go up with the wetlands, or you're going to go to the 25?
Well, I had said, not necessarily going to the 25, because you see, in other areas here, where the lawn has been historically maintained, it goes well into the 25-foot. Again, I think if the commission decided that you want the 25-foot to come back and remain undisturbed, I don't think that should be a hardship either for the property owners. But
I'm fine with what you said the first round, with the wetlands area. Delineate that so it doesn't creep.
okay,
Then they still have the grass that they've put in at some point.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good compromise.
okay.
Anything else?
set.
No? Mark?
Well, when I cut my yard, I cut it right down to the water.
I do too.
I'm in floodplain, and I've been, for 20 years I've been doing that. So I don't really have a problem with the cutting, but I understand your reasoning too, David. I think It doesn't show a hardship, but it makes a nice piece of property. I get that. Maybe plant something in there, whether it be, like John suggested, possibly blueberry bushes or something. Just to keep, so it isn't, so they know where to stop mowing.
Right. And it doesn't encourage other people in the future to
Right.
put lawn in wetlands without asking permission.
This must have came before you when they put is the addition on? Is it all done?
No, it hasn't been started yet.
They
Okay.
just put the,
This was
they put
done
the
years
road,
ago.
the
Right.
driveway in.
Well, and I made it clear when, I made it clear to the contractor, at least the office, that, it's very close to the buffer zone, and it might be difficult to stay out of it, but, any incidental work or any incidental alteration of the buffer zone will need Conservation Commission approval. It was the building department that went out and did an inspection preliminary to issuing the permit, and they came back and said, hey, there's already a big road going in there to build this thing, so that's when.
Were those
I became aware.
Caltech chambers? I'm assuming those are Caltech chambers.
Yeah, I think they are.
Were they in the plan? Because they were obviously in the buffer zone then.
Right, no, they were not on the initial plan.
Oh,
I- I-
okay.
They're not in,
No, not yet,
It's for
no.
the addition.
just the road.
No, I understand, but I'm surprised that they didn't have David look at it to sign off on it.
Oh, the building department.
Well, they did, and that's when I said, yeah, this addition is really close to the buffer zone. I think it's gonna be really difficult to stay out of it. And
Yeah.
I'm sure, we know that, not a problem. But, come to find out that actually
Yeah.
there is
All in all,
alteration.
I think what you said is great, and put the blueberry bushes, that's my
Okay.
suggestion. I'm
Okay,
done.
thanks, Mark. Anything else? No.
No.
Chris?
No, I'm fine with the comments I've heard so far.
So did I hear him want to say something? No. So I hear a recommendation then to let the grass be left alone.
Well,
and
I'm-
possibly even put in blueberry bushes.
Yeah,
in that
I
place.
think a condition requiring planting of blueberry bushes, I think that's a good place for them. I think they'll do well.
Right, and it's just in the wetland area, we're limiting it to the wetland area. And then the request you made also for,
Just some additional detail on the removal sequence of the gravel pack.
Okay.
I can let Ryan know
Okay.
a little bit more precisely
so
what I'm looking for.
all that sounds reasonable to me.
And you want them to not cut the grass in that area again?
In that specific
You want to
area.
leave it,
Right, not in the wetlands.
Right.
Where the blueberries will be
Yeah, okay.
planted.
Yep. Okay, so I'll take a,
Public hearing, any public
yeah,
input?
that's a good point, thank you, Chris. Any public input on this? Any abutters or people interested in this property? No? Don't see anything online?
So I make a motion then that we approve this project.
Have to close the hearing first?
Oh, yeah. I make a motion that we close this hearing.
Motion from Chris to close the hearing, second from
Second.
John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, so motion passes.
And now I make a motion to approve this project with a couple of conditions. One was we're going to have some detail provided to our agent related to the removal work sequence of the gravel pack. And then number two, that wetland area be not mowed, allowed to, just kind of go natural
We'll plant it with blueberries.
and be planted by, do we have a specific number of blueberries that we're looking for bushes?
I think it's just to delineate it.
You gotta plant them 5 feet apart,
All right, so 5 feet apart. 5 feet apart.
5, 6 feet apart, and just where they go, they go.
Okay. That'll be planted 5, 6 feet apart.
You know.
And that's it.
Motion from Chris,
So that's a negative determination with those conditions.
-3.
-3.
second.
Second from Mark.
-2 as
Any
well?
further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, so motion passes. I think we're good to go. I'm going to assume that all of those conditions seemed okay to the applicant?
Yes.
Yep, okay. That's good.
Everything's done good on our part. Thank you very much for your time, everyone.
Appreciate your time. Thanks for the
Good
presentation.
night.
Okay. Next, we have a continuation from April 9th, a notice of intent from the town of Chelmsford, 20 Pine Street. Courtney is here, alive and in living color, and representing the applicant. Hello, Courtney.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Where are we?
We're just here to hopefully get an order of conditions in place to clean a segment of stream behind Pendleton Road to prevent localized flooding that we've had in the area, add more capacity to that area. Basically, we're just hoping to remove the non-native sediment that's been washed in from the drainage infrastructure in the area and has been not cleaned for probably decades. So we're hoping to use a Vector truck, which will stay out of the wetland. And it uses suction at the end of a hose. And then the material gets brought to the tank of the truck. Then it will be staged down on Swain Road, sampled and disposed of accordingly.
Okay, thank you. David, if I remember, there was a DEP number we were waiting for, and I think I heard you say we got that.
We got it, and based on their comments, the extent or the geographical extent of the work has been reduced a little bit to make it easier to permit. If the larger area needs to be done, and at some point in the future, DPW will come back.
Okay.
But hopefully now the new smaller area will be sufficient to address the problem. So I think the hearing can be closed, and the commission issue an order of conditions approving this work with special conditions that, to the maximum extent feasible, it be done during dry conditions. I mean, unless we get, again, a really wet summer, I don't think that'll be too difficult condition to meet. But if by chance it is really wet again, that the commission require a contingent dewatering plan, which I think you've already submitted.
You've submitted that, yeah.
But the contractor, but I think that's going to be in the requirement of the bid and in the contract, that they actually draw up the dewatering plan, right?
That they draw it up.
That they prepare or am I confusing that with another project?
We have a dewatering plan as part of the contract, yeah.
Okay.
So they'll have a dewatering plan as if needed, but also in the contract, it is written explicitly to do the work during dry weather if feasible. We
Okay.
really need to get it done this summer. It's ARPA funding that is doing the project, so we need to have it done by December. And also, we've had severe flooding issues on that road. Traffic unable to pass, flooding issues. So it's not something that we want to extend through another year.
And that's people that there's no other way to get to their houses, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there's some places that would be impassable, really,
okay.
so.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it's definitely an issue.
okay.
And then just the other condition, and I've already verified with Courtney that it's workable. Just make sure that the Vector truck is just kept in the buffer zone.
Yeah, which is already the plan.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Can I ask him one more?
well, we'll go around. Yeah.
Oh, all right,
Yep,
okay.
yeah, we'll go around, yep.
I don't have
Chris, you
anything.
want to start on your end?
I'm good. Over you, Mark.
No, I'm, Mike, you're in the well area of the Chelmsford Water District. I would like, if you were in that area, Zone 1, Zone 2, recharge, resource area, just notify the water districts,
Okay,
either east, north, or center district, just so they were aware of it.
all right.
Anything else?
No, that's all.
Any other? Bill?
I'm fine.
Mark?
I'm oh,
John?
dry. I'm good.
Okay, I'm
The other
good.
Mark.
Public hearing, is there any public comment on this? Don't see any public hearing.
Chairman.
Yep.
I move that we close the hearing.
Motion from Chris to close, second. Do I have a second to close it? John close it, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing closed.
Can I just clarify that,
Yep.
that'll be all projects, not just tonight's project?
Right, yeah, to
Okay.
notify the water district if we're within their wells. We can do that. That's
Okay,
not a
thank you.
problem.
Thank you. Good comment. Okay.
So I move that we approve this project, issue a order of conditions, our standard conditions, plus some additional conditions. One being, as we talked about, that the work be done to the maximum extent possible or feasible during dry conditions or weather. That was number one. Number two, we just want to make sure, it sounds like we have it already, but we just want to make sure we have a contingent dewatering plan.
Yeah, that's been submitted.
And then number three, we want to keep the Vector truck in the buffer zone and out of the resource area. And then number four, and we'll probably be doing this going forward, but just notify the appropriate water district before starting any work.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Motion from Chris. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. It'll take me a few days to get this out. I'll let you know.
Okay, thanks, David.
You know the drill. Okay. Next on our list, we have 10 Hildreth Street, and we need a motion to continue based on the recommendation or the request from the applicant. They want to have it continued until May 28th, which is 2 weeks from now.
So moved, Carl.
Motion from Chris.
Second.
Second from Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. 10 Hildreth Street continued to May 28th. Next on our list, this is a continuation from,
Mr. Chairman,
yes?
I suggest you continue 93 Brick Kiln Road right now as well.
Yep.
You never know, might forget to do
We're
it.
on that, yeah. Let's, we have a request for 93 Brick Kiln Road from the applicant to continue that one. Why don't we do that continuation also?
Make a motion that we continue 93 Brick Kiln Road until our next meeting of May 28th.
Motion from Chris,
Second.
second from Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, David, for taking that out of order, so that's good. Okay, so we are now at the request for amended order of condition at 270 Billerica Road. This is a hearing continued from April 23rd, and we see Casey, familiar face, is here at the podium. We are looking at the draft of the special conditions. That's the main topic of this evening.
Sure. So Casey Ferrer with Howard Stein Hudson. I do want to note the last time we were before this board, we had not yet issued the revised set of plans that were dated May 1st. So since last time that we've been here, we did issue a revised set of plans that addressed all of the peer review comments that we told you that we were going to address. And in the time since we issued those plans, we have received a clean peer review letter from Beta. David, I'm not sure if Phil is online yet, but I'm told he should be at some point, so he may be able to address that if you guys wish.
He's coming at 8, so I'm not sure.
We're going too fast.
So
Yeah,
in the event he does make it, he would be able to speak to that if you guys wish.
Rob Smith is here, though.
And,
You are, right, Rob? You're there?
I did see him come in.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Yep. So
Rob.
additionally, we also did issue a new RAM plan, which was reviewed by Beta. Rob has also issued an additional letter if you'd like to hear from him. But as far as leaving the last meeting, it was our understanding that we needed to take care of those letters and we could review the draft order of conditions, and then that's where we would stand. So I'll leave it there.
Okay. David, do you want to?
Sure.
take over.
After the last meeting, I forwarded my draft to commission members, and I also forwarded it to Casey. I received comments back from Peter, and as we move down, we can see what those comments are. Also received a markup from Casey. So what we're seeing on the screen now is sort of the current markup, which includes my original draft, Peter's proposed conditions. I think Chris had a couple as well, and Casey's markup, and then my subsequent markups as well. The first thing I'd like to say about this, because I know Casey's markup came back proposing to change conditions that were in the original order.
The original order from back in February.
Yes, yes.
2023.
So recall that this is actually a request for an amended order of conditions. So, and some of those were outside the scope of the requested amendment. You know, the commission is under absolutely no legal obligation to change those conditions. That, you know, they were part of the original, that was not appealed. They were outside the scope of the requested amendment. You can change those if you want, but you're under absolutely no legal obligation to do that. I think the first example is right here, condition 21, which originally stated the Chelmsford Conservation Commission, conservation agent, building inspector, consultants acting as agents of the commission and the Department of Environmental Protection reserve the right to enter and inspect the property at all reasonable times until the issuance of the certificate of compliance to evaluate compliance with this order of conditions, the Wetlands Protection Act, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So Casey proposed to modify that by saying reasonable times with reasonable notice to the owner and proper release of liability. And then in blue here is now my suggested revisions. I'll just say a couple of things. The way this often pans out is that, say, a consultant or a member of the public or even a commission member will call me and just this slight exaggeration where you say, there's a dump truck that's emptying its contents into the wetlands. You need to get down here right away. I really don't have the time in that kind of a situation to try and make contact with the owner and let them know I'm going to be down there. I mean, I'll do the best. If something like that happens, I'll do the best I can. That's why I said with a reasonable effort at giving reasonable notice to the owner. Now, with regard to the proper release of liability, I'm quite sure that staff and commission members already, or the property owners indemnified, if anything should happen to one of us. I mean, I'll double check that with town council and the town manager. And we always make sure in the case of private consultants that they provide a certificate of liability insurance, before any contract is signed with them. So hopefully, what I have here is acceptable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fine for me.
Okay. Just going down to the next one here, condition. It says 26. I mean, some of this numbering is not completely consistent at this point. This is Peter's proposed condition. I have somewhat changed the wording, I think, to make it a little bit more complete and read a little bit better. Prior to the start of any site work, copies of all permits issued by other town of Chelmsford regulatory agencies relevant to the protection of groundwater and prevention of pollution shall be submitted to the Conservation Commission, including, but not limited to, A, land disturbance permit from the Chelmsford DPW under the town of Chelmsford stormwater management bylaw regulations, B, aquifer protection special permit from the planning board, and C, Board of Health approvals pursuant to its authority under Article 7, groundwater protection zone of the town of Chelmsford health regulations. In addition, all correspondence from the Chelmsford Water District relating to the project's potential impacts to CWD's drinking water supply well shall be provided to the Conservation Commission. So, I mean, that's probably virtually all correspondence.
Yep.
So,
That's fine.
So 26, we already discussed that last week, and I didn't receive any, comments or proposed revisions on that from either Casey or members of the commission. So I guess that one will stand.
Yep.
what's being called Condition 28B. Prior to the start of any site work, the applicant and Conservation Commission shall agree on the specific procedures and actions to maintain the stormwater system pursuant to the requirements of the long-term stormwater O&M and pollution prevention plan. Should the applicant elect to defer some of these specific procedures of O&M and long-term pollution plans until they develop an employee handbook or similar instrument, then this permit is not valid until applicant and Conservation Commission agree on the specific procedures. I had, a long conversation with Peter about this.
This is Peter inserted this wording?
Yeah, this was, I modified it a little bit, but first of all, you can't say, you can't make the validity of the order of conditions contingent upon, or you can't put that in a condition. The order is valid upon issuance and expiration of the 10-day appeal period. So I explained that to him, and I also tried to get a better understanding from him of what more does he want to see in terms of the O&M and long-term pollution prevention plan that's not already in there. I just felt I was unable to really get a good understanding from him about that. Obviously he's not here tonight to offer clarification, and I also pointed out to him that an employee handbook was never discussed for this project. So I had to be honest with him and say to him, my recommendation is that this condition not be included. So,
Okay.
but it's not meant to prejudice you.
Well,
But
I would tend to agree. We can have, we can talk about that right now. Let's just address this as we go.
yeah, as I explained to Casey, I think that this hearing is likely to be kept open. Maybe Peter could, if he's back next meeting, he could better explain what his intent with this.
Well, I don't see
condition is.
how we can, Chris, do you have any comment? Let's just, reaction to this?
I would strike that 28B.
Okay. Mark, any comment?
Well, same thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to prolong this, not what I want to do in this.
Okay. Bill, any?
I'd strike that also.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were at a final vote.
So if Peter were here, and I think unless
Right.
he had some miraculous explanation, I don't see it.
Well, I think maybe in future projects, again, he can
Yeah.
better articulate,
Yep.
what he really intended with this condition.
Yeah, I just don't think that wording, the way it is now, to your point, I don't think it's legal, and I'm
don't
not
think it
quite
is
sure
either.
what the intent is, so. That being said, let's agree, I think we just agreed to strike that one. We can capture that as we go, unless, I'm gonna guess that makes you happy, the applicant.
My question was, what's the intent of this one? So
Yeah, okay,
I
So
thought we
what-
were at final vote.
yeah. Well, we're going through this, we're going through the changes, so.
Okay, just then on 29, the original condition said if there are any changes, and this is pretty standard, if there are any changes to the plans as submitted, the applicant shall have the responsibility to submit revised plans showing all changes to the Conservation Commission. Casey is proposing to change that to agent. I usually feel that unless they're just really, really minor changes, just ridiculously minor, I really feel that, I should inform the commission
I agree.
of.
I agree.
So you're proposing to leave it as commission?
Yeah, and actually, I think Chris made that recommendation as well. And again, because this was part of the original, the commission is under
Okay.
no legal obligation to change this.
Okay.
And our question, Katie Unright with Howard Stein Hudson. My question regarding the commissioner agent is when you put something in there that says commission, it assumes we're coming to a public hearing and hearing a vote of the commission, which is really burdensome for very small changes. So the idea was if it means a discussion between you and the commission members offline, when you say commission, this is the body that I'm assuming we're talking to in this manner, whether it be a submittal and a discussion?
I mean, it will most likely be a discussion at a public meeting. That's not necessarily the same as a hearing, as you know. You know, and the commission may or may not take a vote to require, one course of action or another. I think it's within the realm of possibility that, if I get a revised plan, I can just have a conversation with the chair, and he may say, well, no, I don't think that needs to go for, a discussion in a public meeting. But I think usually it will at least be a discussion. But that will be preliminary to a hearing, unless it's a request for an amendment. Unless if it's a request for an amended order of conditions, then that will automatically go to a public hearing, as you know.
So there's going to be a lot of, during construction, obviously, we don't know every single bit of information that we're going to
Yes.
see in the ground.
Yes.
So there is going to be continual little tweaks.
Yeah, field changes.
And changes.
Minor field
and
changes.
also, to the plans, is there an applicability? Is it within the buffer zone? Changes, stuff like that, or is it any change to do with the plans? That's why I changed the wording to agent, only because certainly it can go through you to the commission if you feel it's elevated above that, but to say we're going to the commission with every change is a lot, just as far as clarity.
Do you
That's
understand
all.
what you're saying?
I do, and I'm thinking aloud a little bit here. So it seems to me that if we leave it as agent, then you have the right to say, I want the commission to look at this. But you also have the right to say, based on that you can look at it and say, hey, this is a small thing. I'm not going to go there.
I'd leave it to commission. I mean, it's a standard provision.
Is it-
His authority comes from our authority. We have authority from the Mass General laws for what we do and our bylaw, and then we in turn delegate that authority to our agent.
Yeah, good
And that's
point.
how we work.
Good point.
It's never been an issue, honestly, in the past, over, 30 years that I've been here, so,
So you're saying the wording has always been the commission?
yeah, I think, I don't have
It
a
just
problem
has
with
never
commission.
been used that way.
Yeah. But
It's never
all-
been used the way that we're discussing using it, which is going to the commission for every change. I think it depends on the agent, and
And the-
certainly it's never been an issue before because the agent would make determinations on
Yeah.
their own and bring it to you only if they felt it was something that modified the work we were doing to the resource area.
Yeah,
Well, I think to Chris's point, the word agent is, he's representing us,
it's our agent.
and that's our agent, so I'm good with leaving it as commission. Any other?
It doesn't mean they're coming back before us at a
Right.
meeting.
No. I mean, they're going to go to our agent first, kind of have a discussion with him, and he's got authority from us to, if things are really minor, and he does an awful lot in the office day to day, but he's, ultimately his authority comes under, he's vested with our authority as the commission.
And as I said before, I'll check with Carl, who's certainly
Yeah.
a commissioner, is into his opinion, should this go to the full commission or not? And maybe if it's so minor that maybe Carl will say, no, he doesn't think it needs to.
Okay,
But,
so if we leave it, so you're suggesting we leave it as commission?
well, I think that's
Which
what
is
I'm,
the original.
that's what think I'm hearing
Yeah.
consensus on the
Yeah,
board.
and I'm-
That's what you want to do.
And that's the way it's been? And
And that's fine, as long as it continues to work in the
Yep.
same way it's always worked.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, we don't want to change it.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Next.
Okay.
Thank you.
Going down now to condition 30B, which pertains to erosion control. Which, again, this is pretty standard, just says once the erosion control is in, before they can continue with any more site work, they just contact me to do a site inspection. Casey just has proposed to just, affirm here, reaffirm that's to rue the installation of the ECB. I don't have a problem with that.
That's fine.
Good.
It's being explicit, that's all.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, under construction management, I I presented 32, condition number 32 before, or at the last hearing. Don't seem to be any issues with that. So, condition 33. So this is what I put in, and you know, again, I'm getting some feedback that this was never really discussed at you know, prior to this during the hearing. My recollection that it was, but anyway, this is where the commission has the legal authority under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53G. The commission may hire an outside consultant to ensure or monitor the project to ensure compliance with this order of conditions. And Casey's comment here was that we feel this needs to specify or clarify an intended scope. Our intention with the offer was for a third-party reviewer to review our work as it relates to any interaction with potentially contaminated soils or installation of the focal point if necessary. So I have come back and proposed, okay, we'll modify this to you know, specify that it's to review compliance with the construction management section of this order of conditions, which is really conditions 32 through 50. So I'm thinking that it would mainly be to monitor the implementation of the ramp plan and make sure that's being done correctly, and things here like 34. Which I subsequently put in, excavations and installation of all stormwater management BMPs shall be observed by an agent of the town to confirm design assumption for soil texture and depth to seasonal high groundwater elevation prior to system installation, and to verify successful installation according to correct design and product specifications. This may or may not be the same consultant as in 32. But it's really I think the intent of condition 33 was really just construction management.
Yep,
Or
okay.
you know, the project during construction.
Well, I can add as well that as part of the planning board process, they are contemplating basically the exact same condition. And what we've done with them is we're working to provide a scope of that work that Beta is going to review on behalf of the planning board. So if you'd like, we can tie this condition to that same scope that will be reviewed and approved by Beta, and that's basically going to provide a timeline and a series of construction points at which we feel that per the RAM plan, construction will be getting into areas of potentially contaminated horizon. So we feel the planning board's going to move towards the same exact condition, and we want it to be workable between the two boards, the commission and the board. So if we could work to tie this condition back to that same scope that they're going to approve, then that would kind of be beneficial for all parties.
You know, I agree, that sounds like it makes sense. The reason, and I've spoken to Evan about this, the reason I'm reluctant to do that is because I think you really need the input of the contractor. I mean, we can certainly come up with a scope. But you know, I've been through this before with contractors. You know, they'll see engineering plans that are all approved. You know, they'll see all work sequences that are all approved. Say, well, we can't do it that way.
So
I think we really need to have the contractor involved in coming up with a scope.
I just met with the contractor on yesterday, and we discussed how they'll build it, how they'll construct it in conformance with the RAM plan, the timelines that they'll need to be able to do this, and at which points that they think that we think that we're going to be hitting that, so that they understand when they need that oversight. So that's how we came up with that scope.
Okay, so you'll be working with the contractor directly to prepare the scope?
We already did, and we're ready to provide that to Beta probably tomorrow. We're just waiting for our single review of it.
Well, thank you. I did not know that.
Okay, that's good. And I like the idea that it's, especially from your point of view, that you've got one, one between the two boards, so that helps.
That's what we're looking for.
Yep.
Correct.
I had a question about 34. If we can go back to 34, just because it doesn't, again, I'm looking at this just from a practical standpoint. Excavations and installation for all stormwater B&P shall be observed by an agent of the town to confirm design assumptions, soil texture, depth to seasonal high groundwater elevation prior to system installation and to verify successful installation according to the correct design and product specifications. So the contractor's getting the plans. They're submitting cut sheets to the engineer as far as the different types of materials that they're using. We have to review them against the plans and sign off on those. And then at the end of the project, we have to then as-built the project and sign off on compliance with the original plans. Not only that, but where we've removed all infiltration from the project, there is no need to review soil texture. And where we've already confirmed groundwater, there's no need to confirm groundwater as we're not infiltrating to groundwater. So I'm just not sure where there's somebody that's going to be reviewing the site as far as the contamination during aspects of the work that were within 2 feet of the water table and all of those structures. The rest of the site where we're not infiltrating, there is really no need, I guess, for soil texture and or estimated seasonal high groundwater, except where the concern was previously, and I think it was discussed within the working group, it's proximity to the focal point, which we then went out and did confirmatory witness testing for a second time to confirm that that was, again, outside of the water table. So this just seems, and then I have to, on top of this, review an as-built to make sure things were put in at the end of the day at the right elevations. So I'm not sure what this does.
Well, I'm certainly wouldn't object to taking out the wording that refers to confirmed design assumptions for soil texture and depth to seasonal high groundwater. But I certainly would feel better if someone were someone on the town side, and this is a standard condition if someone were there, again, just to witness it, just to make sure that, and I know that the depth to groundwater for that focal point of concern has been, significantly increased, but, just speaking for myself, I would just feel personally better if someone from, the town's agent, whether it be from Beta or the DPW, just there to witness, because mistakes can be made,
Yeah, but we have to there's so many checks and balances along the way already, and especially where you're talking about a fourth party coming in to review it. The town is certainly going to review. They typically come in and review if we have infiltration to confirm once again for a second time that the infiltration is going to happen correctly. But we're reviewing that the materials are being put in per the plan and that they're being installed by a contractor with a license, and then we're checking them at the end to make sure that they were in at the right elevations. I guess I'm not understanding what correlation, what you're looking for as far as a correlation, what the concern is, because there's so many checks and balances already. It feels like we're paying a fourth party to watch over our shoulders of multiple individuals who are already taking responsibility.
Well, how so a fourth party?
Because you just said it could be in a different party. It could be the DPW. It could be somebody other than Beta.
You wouldn't be paying DPW.
Well, we wouldn't be paying DPW, but my guess is that DPW is not going to have the wherewithal to be on our specific site during the entire installation.
Right. Yes. I agree with that. That's why I'm thinking that it would probably be Beta's LSE that would be there. Again, my primary concern is, and I've heard this continuing concern from, again, at least one commission member, but also members of the public, is that you're still pretty close to groundwater trying to install at least that one focal point, and that, mistakes can be made.
So it's also important to note that Ferguson is required to be on site during the entire installation of the focal point, or they will not certify the system, and at which point they will not certify that the system is functioning.
Are they the manufacturer?
Ferguson is the distributor of it.
Okay.
And they help us through the design, and they help us with everything. So Ferguson's already required to be on site, and if the main focus of this condition is for the focal point, then I think that's basically taken care of in our requirements to purchase it from them anyway.
Commissioner members know my opinion.
Yeah. If Ferguson is going to certify it, and it's their responsibility, I'm okay with that myself. I don't know what anyone else is thinking. I hear you, David, but I'm,
Understood.
yeah.
Understood.
I mean, I guess my question is, we see the language that's up there. Did Peter suggest that language?
That was-
initially, or-
No, this is standard.
No.
So that's a
This-
standard?
This is a standard condition, yeah.
Okay.
Every catch basin, a catch basin is a BMP, so every catch basin installed, every construction site gets witnessed by a town employee.
Yeah, I can see how you could interpret it that way, and I certainly wouldn't have a problem tweaking this language, say to things, certainly infiltrators, subsurface infiltrators, which aren't.
There is none.
Right, I know they're not included in this project, but again, it seems to me reasonable to include like a BMP like focal point. Now I
Wanna
had.
Specify that in this wording? Is that something we could do?
Well, I think putting in that Ferguson.
Well, can I add as well that as part of our scope that we've defined for 33, we've also added the focal point as the potential for something to be reviewed by the third-party consultant. So that would already be taken care of by the scope if agreed to by the commission as part of 33.
That sounds reasonable.
Okay, I'm good with that. Everybody else?
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, if we can tweak the language a bit so everybody's happy with it, I'd be good.
Okay,
So I think
So
I
is the
think then
intent
it's
to
your
remove
understanding.
34?
Okay.
Remove 34, add the scope for 33 will include that focal point,
Okay.
and then Ferguson will be on site for it anyway.
Yeah. So that's
That works, right?
Understood.
okay.
Going down here. So just 47 had to do with dust control. Again, this is a standard condition, but Peter wanted it to be revised, to say in there in the second, to add to the second sentence, dust control shall be performed as the work proceeds or whenever a visible plume of dust is observed on or coming from the site. Billerica Road, Route 129 shall be kept free of dirt/dust originating from the project site. I think that's a general requirement of like the DPW's permit anyway.
I mean, the language that was there before is pretty much the typical that we run with usually, but I don't really have any concern with the additional language.
Okay,
Okay. So, going on to the next one, so, not sure if commission members recall that within the original notice of intent, there was proposed invasive species management. And, so that's what the next condition that Casey is proposing to change, pertains to, the condition D, let me see, that would be 51D, which originally read, the certificate of compliance shall not be issued prior to the end of year 5 of the monitoring period, and the wetland scientist overseeing treatment and monitoring certifies in writing that invasive species are controlled and new invasives are limited. So his comment was, we feel requiring a 5-year monitoring period before issuance of a COC can be very problematic from an ownership standpoint. The invasive species management can be a perpetual condition and is below, so invasive species does not need to hold up a COC. Again, just want to remind the commission is under no legal obligation to change this condition because it was in the original and was not appealed. I would be okay with just clarifying that the full certificate of compliance shall not be issued prior to the end of year 5 of the monitoring period, et cetera, et cetera. So that allows for the possibility of a partial certificate of compliance or partial certificates of compliance. I just want to remind the commission that, all the times recently where we've gotten like requests for certificates of compliance that are like 5 years old, or 25 years old.
Yeah, 20.
And to put it in as, make it a perpetual condition, I just wouldn't really be confident that, again, if it's a matter of 2 or 3 decades in the future, a request for a certificate of compliance was received by the commission, the commission might at that point say, oh, well, invasive management, we're not going to worry about it. There's a closing that's scheduled in a week, that needs to be issued. I point to a specific example where I guess I'll make it nameless, but our one of our favorite projects on Cushing Place. There were promises made there about invasive species management that didn't even make it into the order of conditions, let alone anything, any conditions put on the certificate of compliance. So my recommendation is this be left in.
Yeah.
We can add full to certificate of compliance. And I think that should address the concerns.
Well, so the reason that we're concerned about this, and I don't know, I think I was on leave the first time this went through, so I didn't catch it, but the reason we're concerned about this is because in the event that DH wants to do something with a bank, whether that's refinance or even if they want to sell the property, they're going to be required to have the COC. And if they have to wait 5 years just to be eligible to even get it, that could hold up things from an ownership standpoint, and that can be very problematic. Where it's already a perpetual condition, I just don't see the need for the COC to be held up on it.
Well, my experience in that kind of situation, in those kinds of situations, and I've had a fair amount, is that, number one, a partial, usually a letter from the commission or the agent is sufficient to just say, everything is in compliance. We just can't issue the full certificate of compliance, or the full certificate of compliance will be issued, upon, year 5 or whatever, or a partial. In 99.9% of cases, that's going to be sufficient for the purpose you're referring to.
I'm inclined to go with David on this one. Any other thoughts, Commission?
I have no problem leaving it as a full certificate.
Yeah, it's the way we had it originally. We don't have to change it. I'd
don't
prefer
wanna
we
change
leave
it.
it.
Leave
Chris,
the original
your thoughts?
wording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would that make it eligible for a partial? And
Yeah,
then that we
yeah,
did
that-
need something?
that-
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would still.
Yeah, it would still be eligible
Yeah.
for partial.
Okay.
Okay,
Like the situation you brought up, just let us with no bite. We couldn't do anything about that. It wasn't, it was, well,
I mean, at the end of the day,
yeah, let's keep moving.
Yeah.
We are all agreed, let's keep moving.
I think we're agreed.
Okay, so now we're getting into perpetual conditions. So, condition 51, which I know the numbering is out of order. This is Peter's condition. The Conservation Commission shall be copied via email where applicable on all correspondence sent to and provided on receipt with copies of all correspondence received from Mass DEP Bureau of Waste Site Cleanup pertaining to MCP release tracking number, et cetera, et cetera.
I think we already offered that, so that's fine with us.
That's fine, okay.
Okay. So, the next one, condition 52, and it, shortly I'll turn this over to Rob, and this is actually language that I inserted, sort of a placeholder. I just did some draft language. I later on this afternoon, I actually got some more definitive and precise language from Rob and Phil on this condition, but just to briefly describe and remind commissioners of the background here, the concern is that for whatever reason, whether it be that the stormwater management system was installed incorrectly to begin with, or it was damaged incorrectly, or it deteriorates over time after the start of operation, the concerns about groundwater leaking into it, and specifically contaminated groundwater leaking into it and then discharging on the surface. So this condition is meant to try to address that. In speaking with Rob and Phil, they propose that the best way to do that, or at least conceptually the best way to do that, and which sounds good to me, is that is that after installation at some point after installation of the system is complete, then it be monitored during dry weather for discharges, with the assumption that if it's dry, if it's been dry, at least for some period of time, that any discharges out of the system or observed to be coming from the system will be due to groundwater that's leaking into it. And then further, if any such discharges are observed, to then sample and laboratory test it for concentrations of PFAS. So that's additional information that if the discharge is observed, I mean, right there we know that groundwater is getting into the system. To test it for PFAS is, additional information, and I think sort of at the heart of what the concern is. And and again, I'll turn it over to Rob and maybe Phil.
Well, could I ask a quick question first?
Yeah.
I think we're fine with the monitoring for any discharges during dry season.
Mm-hmm.
In the event that there is a discharge, we'd have to fix that anyway, because that would mean that the system is not functioning properly, and we'd have to fix it. So instead of going down the rabbit hole of let's test it and provide this, let's just make it that we have to fix that and make the system compliant with the design plans.
Mm-hmm. But I guess my question is, or my thinking is, and Rob, if you could jump in there, is that the concentration of PFAS might determine how you fix the leak. In other words, how you correct the problem. You have anything to add on that, Rob?
Yeah, no, I think one thing we did want to add in is not just sampling the outfall. Really, we wanted to sort of, and it's borrowing from procedures that exist for MS4 sampling, for stormwater systems, and that we want to, again, that be in that period of dry weather where the springtime where the groundwater elevations are going to be higher. And so again, at those times of year, if you're seeing you think there's groundwater that's discharging, and I agree with what you said, Casey, that that should be sort of rectified. I mean, we want the system to be watertight, and I do agree that with David, I think it's important to monitor for PFAS at those times, and I think at those times that takes out of the equation sort of, you might get some background PFAS from precipitation. We know that you could see some trace levels, so I think it gives you as a way to differentiate what you're seeing, in the system at those times.
Well, if we're seeing the system is intended to be completely watertight, there's no infiltration, so everything that is within the ground is wrapped with non-permeable material, and then all the pipes are supposed to be watertight as their construction conditions anyway. So if we see water coming out, we just know that there's a leak anyway, and we know that's going to be groundwater, because if we're observing in dry times, then it's not going to be stormwater. So if we see a leak, we're going to know that that's groundwater, and we have to determine where the groundwater is coming in and fix that. So I don't think it's going to help us differentiate between stormwater and groundwater, because we're going to know that that's groundwater if there's no stormwater falling.
But I think it helps determine if there's an uncontrolled discharge potentially to the surface water. I think that's important. So like, and if you did test and it's sort of trace, or if it's a low level, it's sort of less of a concern than it's just sort of there's something coming in that has to be addressed.
Anything that's coming out of the system in a dry time would not be supposed to be coming out. So I'm still in the camp that if there's anything coming out, then we have to fix it regardless.
Right, but
I'm just not.
But my question is, again, if there are PFAS, and in some sense if we have sort of a background level, and we're able to say this is a relatively high level of PFAS in the discharge, and knowing where the higher levels of PFAS have been found on the site already, could it potentially be important to know then where the leak is taking place? And if it's close to a higher rather than a lower level of PFAS, might that influence your procedure for fixing the leak? I guess that's my question.
I don't think so, because I'm pretty sure the groundwater levels of PFAS weren't that substantially different. And I'll let Ed speak to that. But
Ed Weigel from Rue Associates for DH. I think, one of the questions that I have that like to ask Rob is, the groundwater on the site, my assumption is that it's discharging to the stream that runs past the site. I mean, Rob, what do you think about that? That's usually what we see in cases like this. Thoughts on that?
And Ed, I'm not sure what your question is.
So the groundwater is discharging to the stream, and if the groundwater is impacted across the site, which we know it is, I mean, if the groundwater discharges to the stream, or if it discharges through the storm drain, the storm system, which, as I understand, it can't anyway. It has to be watertight. I mean, isn't the water all going to the same place to begin with?
I think, I don't think you've demonstrated a discharge to the stream, and I think, sort of bypassing, I think I see what you're getting at, is that it's getting there anyway, so what's the problem if more gets there? I think that's the point you're trying to make.
that's not necessarily the point that we're trying to make. The point that we're trying to make is the PFAS levels getting there are going to get there anyway, but if we notice that stormwater is coming out, then we have to fix it anyway. So we should leave it at if we have stormwater coming out of the system during a dry time, just make the condition that we have to rectify that.
So we need to,
As we're going to have to anyway,
we
because the system would be out of
need to make a
compliance.
decision here how we want to move forward. We're back and forth. I think, do you have a suggestion then, Casey, how we?
Yeah, I say we leave in the monitor during dry time. We can leave in that it must be monitored during dry time every May or something during a high water season. We'll look at the outfalls, make sure there's nothing coming out, right? Because that's a high water season. And if there is, we have to fix that. Just leave it as the stormwater system must be rectified to design.
Yeah, Bill?
When everybody's talking about having it monitored, who's gonna do the monitoring?
I would assume the stormwater O&M, we can just include that as a condition of the stormwater system.
The site maintenance.
I believe we have a riprap
contract
outfall
with.
operation and maintenance anyway, so we can add to that operation and maintenance that it must be. Yeah.
And specific locations, because we already have that maintenance for the riprap, to review that out.
Okay, yeah, because
Yeah, who would do
unless it's
it?
specified who's gonna do it
Yep.
and when.
Right.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you okay with that, David?
Yeah, I'd like
Can we live
to,
with it?
I'd like to think a little bit more. So it sounds like, it would still be better to do it at estimated seasonal high groundwater, then, right?
High water season.
So, right.
Yeah, so April or May, and we can add that in the O&M that it
Okay.
must be checked for any discharges.
I'd like to review their changes,
Okay.
and keep the hearing open.
I think given all of these changes, and I think it does make sense to have one more look at this.
Okay.
There's just
I
a lot
agree.
here,
I
but
agree.
it should be very, we should be good.
I don't know.
I'd like to close it tonight if we
I
can.
thought we were close.
How much more do we have here?
Couple more.
Yeah.
Let's keep going on that, and then we'll get there.
But, so anyway, Rob, I mean, are you really have serious concerns about not doing the PFAS testing?
I do have some concerns about not testing. I mean, I appreciate, the argument that's being made. You have to address the issue anyway. if you don't sample, it just sort of, you're not supposed to discharge PFAS, to surface water if you can help it. And if you don't test it, you won't know what you're discharging. So I think the sampling, again, the sampling is only conducted if there's a problem and groundwater is getting into the system.
Any Conservation Commission members have ideas on this topic?
I got a question. There's monitoring wells on site, right?
Yep.
Isn't that how they monitor it?
Well, and yes, and actually, Rob, you are proposing some additional monitoring wells, right? I can bring that up. Hold on a second here. Okay, so it's probably a little bit hard to see. Let me enlarge that a little bit. So
So what I did suggest, and certainly the locations, I didn't put that on the plan where there may actually be monitoring wells at some of those locations, but my thought was that it would be helpful to have them if there was a monitoring well near portions of the system that were installed in the, below the water table. Having a monitoring well there, I think, could help a lot as far as diagnosing, is the water level at the time you're conducting your evaluation, is it above the elevation of the structure? I just thought that could be a useful diagnostic.
In tracking down the source of any leakage, if it's observed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, part of that is sort of looking at each manhole. You may have to do some camera work, but again, having some key locations where if let's say you're seeing a discharge but the water level doesn't support that the water level is actually below the structures in that portion of the system.
So it's these blue dots where Rob has proposed additional monitoring wells near certain elements of the drainage system.
So it's 3, 4?
Let me see. There's one.
There's 4 monitoring wells.
4.
Okay.
This is new information for us.
Understood. Understood. I just got this afternoon.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that, but I think certainly it's within the purview of the owners if they want to make life easier for them to propose different aspects of the project. But we've done so much work to guarantee that we're looking at every aspect of the site as if there were PFAS. I think what Ed was trying to say, Phil, to you earlier, is that I'm sure the groundwater contributes to the flow in the stream. Otherwise, the stream wouldn't be flowing. Therefore, the groundwater is getting there eventually. I'm not saying that we can't test or shouldn't test, but if there's water coming out of it after a significantly dry time, because we are discharging water through a retention system because we aren't infiltrating. We are going to capture the stormwater. We're going to let it out slow. That's what we're required to do because we're trying to maintain the flow to the stream. If there's water coming out of it after all of that flow has dissipated, then there might be a leak. Might be a leak. After we've seen it installed, we've checked that it was installed correctly, we've checked that the things were installed that we said were supposed to be installed, as built in the system, the contractor has left and then secured the system for, I'm sure, a certain amount of time thereafter to prove that they did their job. It just seems, we know that there's a base level of PFAS that's coming out of the atmosphere, coming out of the rain. There's a pre and there's a post, I get that, but in what instance are we, I just don't understand what, at that point, we're just checking and checking and checking and checking and checking and checking and checking for eternity, where there's PFAS on the site. Who knows how many other sites there's PFAS on? It's coming in, and we've enclosed the system. We've gone above water table. We've checked water table. We've taken out infiltration. We've done all of these things.
But I think I hear what Rob is saying, and please correct me, Rob, if I'm wrong. I think what I'm hearing him say is that these proposed new monitoring wells will help track down the source of any leakage if one is found, regardless of the PFAS issue. Is that what you're saying, Rob?
Yes, and I mean, there could be a situation where you've got a monitoring well near certain structures where it might actually help, the applicant, where maybe you don't need to sample because you can say, hey, we've got some discharge here, and but we know the water level is below our sort of lowest structure of this portion of the system. I mean, that might actually avoid sampling. And again, I think those locations are, we want to get them sort of near different structures, and those are likely co-located with existing well locations. And I think the last thing I would just say is that, we understand about sort of background levels. The PFAS are pervasive. There's some elevated levels in the site, and I think we want to make sure that things aren't made worse. There's a lot of effort on other fronts, and it's just not sort of a perpetual thing. It's sort of like, it's just part of your annual check, the dry weather screening, basically, to look and just to be a part of that effort.
So I'm not hearing a positive response to the monitoring wells.
That's
and it's
fine. If we want to install them we're groundwater monitoring. That's what we're installing them for. And that's what I want to understand is we're installing them not because we're going to have a perpetual testing protocol through the Conservation Commission.
So I don't know that I would be looking to have those as part of our conditions. I think if you want to do that as your,
What's that?
that, we certainly wouldn't prevent you from doing that. If it's going to help you and your applicant in the future. I think that's kind of where I'm thinking on this, especially where it's come so late in our hearing process.
Yeah.
So, where are we? Where are we stuck?
Well, so I guess, what is the consensus of the commission with regard to
The PFAS stuff.
additional monitoring wells for purposes of detecting leakage?
Okay, all right.
Spoke with Michael. So the monitoring wells, I see that some of them land like directly on a drain line. So general location, we can add them in those general locations, but not those exact specific locations. And if the PFAS testing only when visually seen coming out when it shouldn't be, we can do that too.
Okay,
That's good.
I like that.
But I guess I just want to clarify the level. We are going to find PFAS,
Yep.
correct?
Right,
We know
right.
Correct.
that.
Yes.
And we want to
Thresholds.
have it compared. We want to
Yep.
compare it to the levels that have been seen during the previous
Yes,
testing to
correct.
ensure that it's where it's from.
Agree.
Well, then I guess I would feel more comfortable with Katie and Casey proposing that language.
Okay.
And which again, I think means that we should really keep this hearing open.
Well, I think we were offering to just maintain it as you have it written here.
But you didn't want anything about sampling. There is.
No, I just said we'll do that. We'll do that if it's sampling, but dictated only by when we have water coming out of it, which is, I believe, what that condition is saying.
Yeah, yes.
I just want to
Okay.
ensure that that's the intention of the commission.
Okay.
That when there's, if we're in
Yep.
a high storm event and there's water coming out, I don't want to go sample it.
Right. No, it'd be only during dry weather
Yeah.
testing.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm a little confused.
Leaving
Does
it
that mean the
open.
wording that's in there now stays, or are
I
you
think that's what
tweaking
I'm
that?
hearing.
Okay, good.
The
As
only
long-
part we were going to tweak was what we just talked about related to the PFAS levels. Like it just says PFAS.
Oh, yeah.
So the only thing we were saying is is there some language that we can just add instead of just says PFAS? Because We know
Right,
there's gonna be
right,
PFAS.
right, 'cause-
Is there just a modifier to PFAS to say?
Consistent with levels
consistent
found
with levels found at the site, period?
in groundwater
I
at the
think
site.
that's reasonable.
That's all.
Well, but right now, the language doesn't say what to do, based on the level of PFAS. So it just says to test for PFAS. That's all it says.
Well,
That's all it's saying.
I don't have it in front of me anymore. I don't know where I left it, but it does say may require submission to the commission for a plan of corrective action.
That's what the intent is to correct the leak.
Right.
So it doesn't say anything about what you're supposed to do with the PFAS level. I think my understanding is, it's just for informational purposes that may help you determine the location of the leak.
It's,
Yeah, I don't think we're doing anything with the
known
PFAS information.
locations
Still
of the
fixing the leak.
concentrations.
You're
Yeah.
still fixing the leak.
Yeah. So I think that's fine.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, let's keep moving.
So the next one is what's now E, going down there. Again, this was in the original, where it said the commission reserves the right to require an amendment to this order of conditions prior to a proposed new use and/or change in an existing use of the property. Should the commission determine that the proposed new use/change in use is not consistent with this order of conditions, and as it may be amended, including but not necessarily limited to land uses with higher potential pollutant loads. So Casey made the comment, the bylaw already requires that any change to the site within the buffer zone would force the site to go back before the Conservation Commission for an amendment. This condition could cause any change of use allowed by right, by zoning, without any change to the site to require further conservation permitting. The local wetland bylaw and WPA provide enough jurisdiction to determine when a site should go back to the commission. So I just then chimed in. I recommend this condition remain in the amended order. Perhaps the wording, a proposed new use and/or change in an existing use, should be revised to say a proposed new and/or change in an existing physical use, to distinguish the intent of this condition from a change in use under zoning. The motivation for this condition originally was concern, at that time anyway, that what was actually going to be warehoused in the warehouse was not definitely known. And the concern was, suppose when that was definitely determined, it either involved, highly toxic chemicals, or it involved, storage and use on site of a lot more vehicles that then might cause, again, to be classified as a land use with higher potential pollutant loads. And the concern was that then that should come back for an amended order of conditions to specifically allow that use, with whatever changes associated with stormwater might be required. So that was the concern, that was the motivation for the original condition.
But if we're changing the use to something that would classify as a loophole or something that is, we'd have to come back anyway.
Well, but so what's wrong with putting in the order of conditions?
Because it just says use, any use.
Yeah.
And that's,
Right.
it's just a wording issue. Again, I think we're on the same page, but it says use, and therefore, any use would require us to come back here. If it
And or
was-
change an existing physical use that, really any change is a change in physical use of the site, wouldn't it be?
Well,
I feel like the bylaws already would require us to have to come back if that were the case. Why muddy it up
well,
with wording?
but then I would go back to the earlier condition, which says that any proposed, change to the plans shall be submitted to the Conservation Commission. So,
There has to be some rights of the owner to be able to, if a different company comes in and it's operating in a similar fashion, but you see it as a change in use because maybe they, do something in the corner that's a little bit different than just warehousing and distribution. It has nothing to do with the commission, has nothing to do with loophole. We're gonna be standing here before you asking for an approval?
not necessarily. Again, but I go back to the earlier condition that says any proposed change in use, submit the plans to the Conservation Commission, or the agent, as the case may be, and then the commission will make that determination. Again, just trying to emphasize what the concern was for the original order of conditions. Maybe that concern is no longer there.
Well, isn't that concern taken care of by the fact that we'd have to come back anyway, whether this condition was in here or not?
Or say a use that would constitute a loophole.
You can specify that, yeah.
You could specify that, and then just make it extra clear in the commission.
That could work, maybe. What do you think? Just add a little more wording, like the proposal?
Just qualifying the use, that's all.
I'm sorry, can you repeat what the qualified wording would be?
Just that would constitute a loophole.
Land use with higher potential pollutant loads.
Okay.
Which
That's
it already
what we're
said.
concerned about.
Yes.
It already said not, well, it says including but not limited to land use with higher potential pollutant loads, so we should just say if it is changing to a use
Yeah.
that would be classified as a land use with higher potential pollutant
I'd be
loads.
okay with
Let's
that.
go with that.
Good.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
So Phil has joined us.
Okay. Hello, Phil. Good evening. And do we have anything specific for him that we were holding off? Are we near the end? Are we at the end? I think we're.
Yeah, I think
we're very close.
I think we are pretty close at this point.
The only other one was the snow
The only
storage.
remaining thing was snow storage, where
That's just
the-
language change.
Right. Yeah. I'm okay with
Yeah,
the
that's
proposed
fine.
change.
Okay.
So Phil, are you there?
Yes, yep.
So you just missed the discussion regarding potential leakage of groundwater into the stormwater management system. In my conversations with you and Rob earlier about this, I think you had actually mentioned that leakage of groundwater in the stormwater system is actually rather common. Is that what you said?
I wouldn't necessarily comment that way. It does happen. Typically, depending on the system used, there are boots and or mortar associated with pipe connections to structures and gaskets for pipe connections themselves. So you want to keep the infiltration into pipe systems pretty minimal, although it does happen, and it's not that critical normally if it does. In this situation, it's obviously a little more important to control that. So.
How important do you feel it is to install the proposed 4 monitoring wells toward helping with corrective action in case leakages are found?
Well, I think you want to. I don't know if you need 4, but obviously, if you know what the high groundwater elevation is relative to your system, then you can be certain that whether the pipe connections are watertight, and or if you do have flow and dry weather, that the flow is groundwater related. So those are the things that are helpful to have groundwater monitoring wells.
Okay.
But I think I heard.
Didn't you agree to put them in?
They agreed to put them in,
They
so that's
agreed.
fine.
So let's keep moving. Let's keep moving on.
We
I
were done
think-
after that snow storage comment.
Yeah, I think that pretty well does it.
Okay, so that means that we have an order of conditions with, I think we're agreed to, in principle, everything. There's still some wordsmithing.
I think so.
That's what I heard. I think we're in agreement.
Yeah, okay. And was that the remaining item on our, I think it was. We got our clean peer review letters. We got the SGMP and RAM plans. So I think we got everything, and we're in agreement in principle. Agree that there's a little bit of wordsmithing here.
Yeah, and if the commission authorized me again to do back and forth with Casey just to, nail down the
Yep.
final wording. The only comment I will make is that though the planning board has continued their hearing, and why was that, Chris?
The draft order, or the draft
That was to do
decision.
the same thing?
Yep.
Just to draft an order, so, I
Which
mean,
we've
they're
reviewed that
no
and issued that back to you.
really major outstanding issues with the planning board at this
Okay,
point.
so we wouldn't anticipate some dramatic thing from the planning board. Okay, then I think I'm hearing that we could take a motion to close the hearing.
I make a motion to close.
I heard Bill first.
Goes quick.
Bill's quick.
Very quick. on that
Motion
one.
from Bill, second from Mark. Okay, motion from Bill, second from Mark to close the hearing on 270 Billerica Road. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we are closed. That's a major step. Okay, so now,
So I make a motion that we issue an order of conditions, and it be the draft document that we've agreed to tonight, but with the understanding that our agent could work with the applicant if there's a few minor tweaks that have to be done to the wording to, to get the intent that we all agree to.
okay. Any other conditions on this approval?
Oh, I think we've thrashed them out pretty
Yes, I
We
pretty
did?
thoroughly
so.
at this point.
We
I
did.
just want to be,
Thrashed is a good word
so,
to describe it.
I just realized, we closed the hearing, but we didn't have, well, we had public comment.
We've had plenty of public comment. We had
so-
Plenty.
great public comment.
Yes, so we had plenty of opportunity for that. So I'll take them, we have a motion from Chris, second on the motion from Bill. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, sir.
Yahoo.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Have a
so
good night.
Thank you very much
I'll be in
to
touch again shortly, Casey.
Phil and Rob. Thank you very much for staying with us. Really appreciate it. And to the applicant, Casey and everyone, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
And to my fellow commissioners, thank you for working through this, and especially David.
I think that was a good back and forth.
Yeah, no, it was, it was detailed, but, we talked about this last week in our meeting. We got to go through these together as a team.
Right.
I think that's
I think
that's what we're going to experience, but that's okay.
it's a give and take.
Well, and I hope what I show an appreciation for is that, the commission, I know the commission members aren't working with the same issues every day like I am. So I hope that I present them in such a way is that it's easy to follow what the concerns are and, what really the
Well,
issues
we
are.
obviously look to you for,
Yeah.
we don't know,
Yes, but I don't want to, I don't want anyone to be snowed. Really,
Right.
there's really no
right,
need for
no.
that.
So I also want to thank Peter. He's not here, but he had a lot of good suggestions for that order of conditions. I think we have a very good order of conditions on this. I think it's a very strong, robust. It's a kind of we're looking at setting a new level. So anyway, I'm thinking that's good. Let's keep moving. That is it on our regulatory hearings, if I'm not mistaken. We don't have anything listed under discussion that I saw, I think. And we are on the continual business, so this is an update on the open space and rec plan. So that is, let's see, we had a meeting a few weeks ago, and we have our next meeting next week, and I don't really have anything new to add to that, other than we have a meeting next week scheduled in this time slot next week, so we'll have that. We have ongoing work at 255 Princeton Street.
Okay, so this actually now is one of those situations where they propose to make a change in plans that sounds pretty minor, but I said I would have the commission I said I would just run it by
So
the
this is the commission, not the agent, right?
Right, yeah, I mean, it's,
Or is this the agent?
yes.
It's a perfect example.
Exactly.
Of course, now that I'm looking for the actual plan, the proposal is to substitute a retaining wall. There's As you go into 255 Prince Street, the wetland is on the right.
Yeah.
Currently, what's being proposed, and it's down, it's lower elevation.
Right, yeah.
What's currently proposed, it's on the approved plans, is a guardrail. And what the applicant wants to do is replace that with now a retaining wall. Looks like it's about 3 feet high. And they're just wanting to know if they have to come back for formal approval to the commission for that.
Is the 3-foot wall, is that a safety issue or anything, or why?
It's aesthetic.
Aesthetic.
Apparently, it's.
Will it help
aesthetic.
alleviate the possible flooding down there?
No.
won't
No,
change
that's,
that.
that's not the intended purpose.
Not good or bad either
And-
way.
Right, it won't do anything.
So why can't we bring it back in for that? Should that be addressed?
Here,
Should that be addressed?
yeah, my personal opinion is that it's what's called a minor field change. And could be, here it is, here's the plan.
This is the slope that you had to, Bill, you had to carry Dave up this.
Yeah.
Right.
The sidewalk. We remember it well.
Right, that's right.
So can you see on this plan?
Yeah,
So this line right here that I'm pointing to is the guardrail that was already approved. They want to do the retaining wall where the no, I'm sorry. The guardrail is the red. The guardrail, the approved guardrail is the red. This line right here is the proposed retaining wall. Now, I know this shows wetlands right here, but it's actually just buffer zone. Here's an image of the proposed wall. So I did tell Mr. Baranski, who's the project manager, that we would need a plan for the wall and a detailed construction sequence proposed by the contractor. But I thought that, again, my opinion was that, with that information, a new filing would not be necessary with the commission, but said I'd run it by the commission.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with that, too.
Any other?
Oh.
Anybody?
David,
If you get the plan, I think we're good with, as long as you see a good plan, we're good to let you
Okay.
be our agent.
do you have any information on the water in the pond?
Yeah, they say it's not their fault.
They say it's coming off the street.
Right, yes. Says it's due to nothing they're doing.
Okay.
So,
Of course.
I don't know if that helps.
Okay, anything else on
Not on that, no.
255? Okay. Next is the Warren Pole Reservation. So did you hand out copies of the CR? So you all have a copy of the CR. So your homework is to review it in the next 2 weeks. And if you have any issues or comments, come back to me with those comments. But otherwise, I'd like to vote on it at our next meeting to approve it and to recommend to the select board that it be submitted to the state. So,
Carl, anything you want us to look at closely, or does it look good to you?
to me, it looks good after 3.5 years of working on it. There's I mean, you're the lawyer, so you can look at the boilerplate if you want, but the key parts are there is what's allowed, what's prohibited, and then what's mandated, obligatory, which is that we do a land management plan for the meadow, which we were gonna do anyway. That was the last holdup, and we came up with some wording on that, and they said, that's fine, we're gonna do that, we were gonna do that. So it's just looking at, really the key thing is looking at what's allowed, what's prohibited. Those are the main things, but there's nothing,
Okay.
Yeah. yeah, okay? So, I know you won't be here, but
In spirit.
in spirit. All right. Next is on the coolest property. So we had a conversation about this last week prior to our off-cycle meeting last week. It was not on our agenda. Paul asked me just prior to our meeting if we would determine if we are interested in developing the CR and managing the Coolest Farm parcels, that he wanted to make the recommendation to the select board. We voted on that last week. Chris made the motion, we voted it, but David made the comment, it wasn't on our agenda, we should do it again. So we should have that same discussion, which we had last week, which was essentially that we are the Conservation Commission with responsibility for open space in the town of Chelmsford. And this property is under that broad topic of open space. And so the fact that we've done conservation restriction, which is going to be signed off hopefully soon, and that we've got most of the other open space in town is under our responsibility. So the suggestion is that it makes sense for us to take on the responsibility of that. So I would request that we take another motion and vote on the same topic that we discussed last week, based on the fact that we now have it in our agenda.
I make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we vote to indicate that we support the Conservation Commission assuming the care and management responsibilities with respect to the Coolest property.
Thank you. From Chris, second
Second.
from Bill. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything else on Coolest, John, that you want to?
Nothing, I was at the
Fine.
work session.
Okay,
so
yeah, you were with us.
I was
so,
with you,
okay,
so I
thank
don't
you.
know what they even talked
Okay,
about.
thank you very much. So next we have agents report, and I know the Robin Hill, I went up. Is that the first thing on your list, or?
Yeah.
So I did go up and look, and there are 7, 8, 9 trees that they tagged, and they're spread out. They look reasonable to me. I mean, they're nice trees, but I get that it's blocking their view. They all seem to be on the east axis from the
Yes.
tower.
Yes, they need a line of sight view
Yep.
for this microwave.
So I don't know if anybody else got up there and took a look at it, but I wouldn't recommend, I'm glad Dave didn't drive up in his Porsche. There's not a lot of clearance up there.
It's important.
But I recommend that we allow the state police to get that done and make it
Okay.
happen.
Okay. And I'll just, I will forward that to them, just, ask them to give me, a certain amount of notice prior to the start of cutting,
Okay,
so that when I get the calls about the cutting trees, they'll be able to.
okay. Anything else on agent's report?
Just the one other thing is at 7 Talbot, there was some work done in the buffer zone without authorization, and a lot of, not sure exactly what they were doing actually. Part of it was to construct a small addition. It's actually more of a bump out in the back of the house. But I mean, there was a lot of disturbance for that. They also were planning to put in a basketball court. So I told them that, they either had to get the basketball court out of the buffer zone, otherwise they'd have to do a filing. So they actually did get it out of the buffer zone. And I will be, first chance I get, I will be issuing them an enforcement order to fix the buffer zone, to restore it, replant it. It was basically just grass to begin with, but at least restore it back to lawn. And deal with. I've already given them permission to tie in the drainage from the bump out to the existing drainage for the house that was already there.
And
So-
based on, you and I had a conversation, the applicant, the resident's been very,
Very,
very helpful and
very cooperative.
cooperative, okay.
It turns out, and I only just learned this from one of the residents of the neighborhood, is that the Conservation Commission holds a conservation restriction, or at least I was provided with copies of minutes from, I think, 2011, which showed that there was a CR that was proposed. The commission approved the draft. Do you recall this at all, Chris? I have no idea, though, whether that was ever followed through, whether the CR was ever recorded. I know for sure that there's been no monitoring of it
Yeah, right,
since then.
right.
Like, hasn't been for any
If
of them.
if it's recorded, it would be on our list. I don't remember looking at the list of CRs that we're responsible for holding. I don't remember seeing,
Yeah, no, I don't,
Talbot
I didn't
on
see
there.
that one either, but.
this is, just, if you don't know where Talbot is, it's in my neighborhood. It's actually across from Dave McLaughlin's house and up the hill behind the house is across from his house. There's a development right behind there that went
Remember that,
in
yeah,
right
I
around
remember
that
that.
timeframe, 10, 15 years ago.
So when I have a chance, I'll do some research, see if I can track down whether CR was ever recorded.
Interesting, okay, all right. But that's progressing, and again,
Yeah.
the applicants.
Yeah,
Helpful,
they're
okay.
doing everything I'm asking.
Okay. We have, anything else?
I do.
Yep.
We were gonna look into a survey for Freeman Lake, the small piece of land.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a ways down the road, because want the surveyor first to finish up Warren Pole,
Right.
and he hasn't done that, even though he keeps promising me he's gonna do that, and then the wetland flags at the coolest property
Right.
need to be surveyed.
But it's
So,
on the list of
It
things.
it is on the list.
Okay.
Definitely, it's the third priority. on
I'm
that
only
list.
asking because I'm getting emails and calls.
Yes, understood.
I can only imagine.
Okay, all right, good, thanks for bringing that up, yep,
Yep.
good reminder. Okay, anything else? We have meeting minutes, so there are 3 sets of meeting minutes, February 7th, March 26th, and April 9th. The 4th set is not ready yet, so February 7th, take a quick look at that. This was, that was, our friend Dave had just left.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of February 27th, 2024.
Motion from Chris, get a second?
Second.
Second from Mark, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Let's look at March 26th, meeting minutes. This was a long meeting, it looks like.
I believe that was the 11:30.
This was not the 11:30.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this was only a
This was 9:30.
9:30. Nothing.
This was an easy one.
Yeah, a quick night.
Any motion on this one?
I move that we approve the minutes of March 26, 2024.
Motion from Chris, second from John, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And finally, April 9th.
There we go, that was more like it. 11:26 PM.
Oh my God,
We had to pay you double time, didn't we, Vivian?
oh my God, that was the one.
40 hours.
Okay. It's a good thing,
That
a
was
good
a
thing
long
David's, your salary, David. It's
Trust.
a good thing.
Vivian does a good job.
I don't get
so-
overtime.
You don't get overtime, I know.
Take a
matter how
motion
much.
on the March, on
likes
the April 9th, marathon session. This was our high water mark. Take a motion.
It's one way of phrasing it.
Move
I
to
move-
approve.
Move to approve by Bill,
Second it.
second by Chris, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, you get quick down there, you get
Yeah,
quick.
yeah, quick draw over there. Okay, motion passes, so we have approved 3 meeting minutes. We have 1 still open that Vivian will be getting to us soon enough, I'm sure. Yep. Two open, right, so. All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Moved.
Moved by Chris, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you, Chelmsford Telemedia. Thank you, everyone, and nice to get another one closed. It was good.
Another one closed.
So 191.